Well, this past year gone past has been probably one of our busiest years, since we took a couple of years off because we just sort of took a couple of years off. But this year we came back and we've done loads of remixes this year, and we had a big single, Holding On To Nothing, which did really well for us. And we've played loads of big gigs in the summertime. We played a big gig in Holland, which was the biggest one. It was 365,000 there during the day, and then at night time we did a party for 40,000 just like right at the harbour, and it was
What was that?
it was the
Fast Forward
parade, Love Parade type.
It's Holland's equivalent of Love Parade. They have floats going through the city and stuff. So it was pretty.
Yeah, we did a few festivals in England in the summer.
There was
Wakestock in Wales and
Into the Park or Escaping the Park.
Escaping the Park, and I can't remember the other ones.
When you play a festival, you have to play big and you have to fill that space. Whereas a club, you can play much more intimate and you can experiment a hell of a lot more because it's a more intimate setting. But here, it's like you have to fill.
It's really good. It's good to do both, though.
It is good. It's good. We like both, you know. When we made it, we'd only been together, not in the biblical sense, for 6 weeks, and we came up with this track. It lay in the studio for 4 or 5 months. We actually pressed up 50 copies, and within 1 weekend, the 4 big radio shows on Radio 1 in the UK had played it, and basically our lives changed over 1 weekend.
Yeah, we had to get our telephone cut off because we didn't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? It was
we put our numbers all over the thing, and then phone calls were coming in. And
there was all these guys that we were trying to phone for years, and they wouldn't answer the phone to us. And all of a sudden, we wouldn't answer the phone to them.
So that was your first time on Radio 1?
Yeah,
I think no, we'd had a couple of tunes
a couple
before,
of years ago,
before,
but it wasn't anything significant. But his daughter was actually born to it being played on Radio 1.
Yeah, Just Jules played it, and she'd just been born, and he
in the delivery room.
And it was actually the Peace Day in Northern Ireland as well. So the whole thing was like, it's a bit special, you know. It's like something we'll never forget, like the one track, right?
People know us for Nellie Nelson, and they expect a certain type of music. Whereas we can do with Cortez, it's more of a techie sort of, you know, harder edge thing. Afterburn's they're just like different releases for us. You know, you get sort of sick of doing the same thing, and every 6 months you go, we'll do an Afterburn track or we'll do a Cortez track. And
plus it was good for us to work with different record labels as well, because we've been with Extravaganza for sort of since day one. They signed El Nino, and other people were wanting to sign us as well, but the Agnelli and Nilsson name stays with Extravaganza, so we had a bit of time in our hands as well, and it was good. We were working with Ferry Corsten and ID&T on those other projects.
I think the principle behind what we do it hasn't changed. We want to make good, uplifting, quality records. How they sound doesn't matter. It's the sort of principle behind what we do has always been the same. It hasn't really changed.
We don't approach it in a different way. You know, it's still the same. The Afterburn record that we brought out last year, Summer Sun, we gave it to Ferry, and right away he wanted it for his label. So then he asked us to do a remix of his own tune, and it just sort of we're doing another tune for Tsunami now as well under Afterburn. So, and then Ferry's wife actually, she looks after our international DJ dates now as well. So we sort of got pretty friendly with Ferry because he's a really nice guy, you know, and we connected with him. I love Australia. I came here first of all, and I think it was 2000 with Gatecrasher doing the Gatecrasher World Tour, and it just blew me away. I just couldn't believe it. It was probably the best gigs of my life. Like, I remember playing.
Melbourne was.
Yeah, the Melbourne
at
the Victoria Docks. It was like my whole body was just tingling when I couldn't believe it. I sort of had a bit of stage fright as well, you know, because I had the flu, and it was an unbelievable buzz, and I don't think I've had a buzz like it since. All the gigs on that tour were really memorable, you know. I'll never forget them. We're doing a new
single.
We're doing a new single at the minute. We're in the middle of it actually.
There's plans in place for comps new compilation, our own series. Loads of DJing. We're now penciling in, like we've started the year, we've got Poland, America, Sweden, Finland. I'm sure we'll hopefully be back here. So just more of the same, but we're taking it to the next level. We've got plans that
every weekend we're DJing. You know, we're finished here. This is our last gig in Australia, so we go home on Tuesday, and then we're in London for the weekend, and then it's Christmas, and then we got a hectic 2 weeks sort of in between Christmas. You know, we're not at home very often, which is, my wife loves it. You know, she's glad to get rid of me.
Well, it's got a hell of a lot easier now. When we first started out, when we bought our studio, we spent like £80,000, which is what, $200,000 roughly. Now you can do it for 10 grand. Everybody has a PC in their house. Everybody can get a package on the PC to make music. So, like Fruity Loops, Recycle, Reason, things like that. A mess about, and you either have it or you don't, really, you know.
Sometimes you go into the studio and everything
It's
clicks.
just how creative you
Do you
are.
know what I mean? It
for,
clicks.
You know, the day.
Other days you go in and you come out 3 weeks later and you're going, what have we done? It's like, so we start again, and it sort of gets to that point where you're sitting there going, it's not happening, and then all of a sudden, bang, it happens, and the whole thing just, your 3 weeks work or whatever just comes together and everything just sounds right, you know?
We're in the studio 5 days a week, on the road at the weekends. We try and keep the studio to 9 to 5, but it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you go in at 5 and work to 1 or 2. So it all depends how you're feeling. You know, you can't push creativity if you get a spark.
The good thing about it, the studios are
Our house.
our houses, do you know what I mean? So
it's easy,
it's
accessible,
easy, and then
you know?
we sort of, last year we had one big studio, and then we got rid of that and got 2 smaller ones, so we've got sort of 1 each, and we just sort of communicate by email and stuff and mess about that way, because we live about 30 miles apart, really, you know.
And we get sick of the sight of each other every weekend. The names are always really difficult. You just.
But they're very important, I think. And names,
like El Nino was an important name for that record. It kind of worked with the record. Every Day was part of the vocal. Hold On to Nothing was part of the vocal. So if you have a vocal, it's much easier. If it's an instrumental, it's slightly harder. So you just sort of think about it and listen to the track, and if it's describing
try and get something that will fit in with the track, you know. Embrace, the track Embrace that we did is like it's an instrumental, and there's a choir in it, and it's like this sort of huggy, do you know what I mean? Poke his eye. And that's really why it's called Embrace, because when I hear it, I think of arms out round somebody, you know, because it's
El Nino was happening at the time, and it was all over news and newspapers. And
I just found it really early, you know. I was watching Sky News and found this.
So the record came out and
like,
the news were mentioning it, and it was in papers. It was kind of like a bit of a marketing thing. But like Hudson Street was sort of inspired by New York. We'd been to New York and come back and written Hudson Street. We're very laid back about the whole thing, very sort of just go with the flow, and we don't push ourselves as much as we should. You know, looking at other DJs on this tour, and they're pushing themselves, and we're going, we'll go and sleep and have a coffee. And there's no master plan. We just do what we do, and people like it, and that's a big bonus. And I think it's kind of better that we don't push it into people's faces. It's more accepted, and people like it for what it is. You know, we haven't herded around. You know what I mean? It's just there.
You know, you could release a record every week, and by the end of the year, you could be finished. You know what I mean? Because people might be fed up with you. So, you know, we just sort of do one now and again, and it seems to work better that way for us.
And we don't release. A lot of our problem is we do records like year to year, because we won't release crap records. We set ourselves very high standards of records, and that's why it takes a year to get some things out. Plus, we're lazy. Do you like Marmite?
No.
It's different than Marmite, apparently.
It smells alright.
It doesn't smell. That is stinking. Who's the Vegemite sandwiches and Men at Work song?
I don't see anything wrong with it, honestly.